is Arrington, and I know at the beginning of the year I said that my field of study was biomedical engineering, but due to the fact that it's still a relatively new field, I had difficulty finding research interviews with people that worked with something that interested me, so I turned to my second best choice, which was general pediatrics. Now, the reason I chose general pediatrics was still because I love helping other people, and as a doctor, you can help lots of people, because everyone needs healthcare. And some people may become a doctor for the prestige or the money, but the time and dedication required to become a general pediatrician can only be fueled by true passion to help other people. So first off, I should start off with what is a general pediatrician, and it's basically a physician that helps adolescents and younger children. And there's a lot of different things that must go into being a general pediatrician, such as communicating with the patient is more difficult than an adult would be, and that children's bodies are different from adult bodies. So the first part of the journey to become a general pediatrician is, of course, the education. There are 4 years of undergraduate courses, 4 years of medical school, and then 3 years of residency. And on average, undergraduate school can cost anywhere from $40,000 to $160,000. Medical school can cost anywhere from $100,000 to $160,000. And in the turn of events, in residency, you actually make $30,000 to $45,000 a year, which isn't a lot, but helps cover the cost of living. So the decision to become a general pediatrician starts in high school, and that's when you take classes, math and science classes such as chemistry, biology, physics, calculus, algebra, geometry. All these things help drive an interest in the math and science field, which can further help inspire a person to become a general pediatrician. And it's also important to include extracurricular involvement such as clubs, organizations, or music or sports, because it helps manage time, because that's the whole point of high school. It's good practice to manage time and form connections and learn how to be a better person. And so the most important thing to draw from high school is to study well and set up for a good college. So college is the second stage in the journey to becoming a general pediatrician, because this is where you learn the bulk of the things you're about to go into. So there's lots of math and science classes. There's organic chemistry, general biology, genetics, molecular biology, microbiology. Also physics and calculus are required math courses. And these again help really make or break a person to decide if they really want to go into this field, because there's just so much you need to learn in just these 4 years. And for most colleges, pre-med is not a major. You also have to have another major in addition to all the pre-med courses. So most people will pick something science-related like biology or chemistry, but people I've talked to, for example, Dr. Gerlacher, he said going to a business major and then the pre-med route would be really helpful in the future if someone decides to go into the private practice, in which business side plays a lot into the daily work style. I know my mom's friend in college, she decided to do journalism in pre-med. That helped her write more articles about pediatrics. Going to a really good school will increase one's chances of getting into a good medical school, because it's better to get lower grades at a more rigorous, recognized school rather than getting better grades at an easier college, because colleges really look into, they want to realize how good the medical program is. For example, I had a person at my church who went to UTD, he did well in this MCAT, and he did all the pre-med requirements and graduated, but he had a difficult time finding a good medical school that was willing to accept him, because they just didn't know how well established UTD was. Another part of college is volunteering. Medical schools want to see how involved and how passionate you are about this field. They want to see that you're interested in helping others. So some examples of good volunteering opportunities are nursing aides or working in a pharmacy. It really shows the experience and exposes students to what they might be involved in. Of course, just like high school, in junior and senior year of college are spent preparing for the medical college admissions test, or better known as the MCAT. And this is basically an SAT or ACT to get into medical school. So medical school is divided into two parts. There's the medical sciences and then the clinical sciences. So medical sciences are basically learning everything about the human body. There's anatomy, physiology, chemistry, all the things that a doctor will be dealing with every day in his life. That makes it the first 2 years of medical school. And then the second part of medical school is clinical sciences. And this is where a general pediatrician starts getting more in-depth into actually dealing with people rather than textbooks and knowledge. So clinical studies is when you start having hands-on experience with patients. And at the end of medical school, you start getting slightly into specialization, which is different what the specific topic you want to go into. So then the last part, after graduating medical school, a person is now officially a doctor per se, but they still have to go through residency, which on average for general pediatricians is about 3 years. First year is spent with 4-week rotations, learning about different specializations. A lot of the general pediatricians I've talked to have really liked the surgery rotation. The second and third year are spent in the actual clinical atmosphere. And this is the part where a person really learns how to become a general pediatrician. This is when they start really having hands-on experience and talking with patients. And this is also when someone decides what specialization they want to go through. For general pediatricians, it would just be the second and third year. But also people may want to go into subspecializations such as pediatric oncology or surgery. That requires 4 years and more. 4 years and beyond. Some of them might include a fellowship, which is when you study with other people with some similar specializations. And a subspecialization which is basically a specialization of a specialization. So being a doctor, right after graduating or getting out of residency, you start going to practice medicine. So there's 2 types of ways you can practice medicine. There's private practices, and then there's hospital employment. So there's pros and cons of both. Private practices are really good because you can manage your own business. You are the boss. You decide the administrative policies, the payroll, who to hire, who not to hire, and you get to work with the medical aspect. But the cons are that for that same reason, you have more things to deal with. You have to focus on the business and the medical side. For hospital employment's basically the reverse of private practices because basically you don't have to worry about anything other than the patient. But the cons of this is that you also have to deal with adapting to the hospital's atmosphere and doing what the hospital's policies want you to do. And the typical workday of a pediatrician begins before the clinic even opens. General pediatricians will go to the hospital and then they'll look over newborn children, they'll look over any hospitalized children, and then they'll go to their practice, which normally is 5 days a week from 9 to 5. And they will see normal checkups with a scattering of sick children or call-ins. And after the clinic closes, that's when they go into on-call, which is basically any emergencies that people may have to do. So the best and worst experiences of being a general pediatrician, the best experiences of all the people I've talked to, they said they really enjoy watching kids grow from their birth all the way until they're an adult. And the worst experiences, of course, would be losing a child or finding out that they're diagnosed with something that is really dangerous and they would have to send to a specialist. So, along with the best things about being a general pediatrician, when I talked to Dr. Knapp at Best Nest Pediatrics, she said one of the things she saw, one concept was the idea of continuous care, and like I said before, that's like watching someone grow from birth all the way until they're 18 years old, and that's really interesting because you can form a patient relationship, a doctor-patient relationship, and really see how your input is making them grow. And the second thing was, I was reading an article, and Dr. Stephen Holmes, he said that another concept was the idea of the pediatric dynamic, which is basically having another person help with the diagnosing process. And this is basically something like veterinarian. The animals can't always tell what's wrong with them, so they have to have another party help diagnose them. In the same way, there's the doctor, patient, and the parent. And all 3 of them together can help diagnose a child and see what's wrong with them. So in conclusion, I still have a lot to learn about. I want to get more into the experience of being an actual general pediatrician. I need to volunteer to expose myself to more information in this field, and I need to be proactive. Like my quote says, life isn't about finding yourself, it's about creating yourself. So I need to create these experiences in ISM.